Okay, Kevin Smith was
young.
38 years old in 1999.
38?
Not in this picture.
Okay.
He grew up in Monmouth County, New Jersey, in an Irish Catholic family. When he turned 21, he went to see Richard Linklater's Slacker in theaters, and it made him realize, I could make movies. This is just a movie about people like hanging out and talking to each other. There's no Death Star. I could do that. And yeah, it showed him the possibility. And an indie film was in a boom time at the time in the early 90s. Suddenly there was a alternative to the traditional Hollywood path. You could make more smaller, more personal movies at low budgets about human behavior.
Is Singles one of them?
Singles, is that one of the
Smaller. I kind of group it in. Reality Bites.
But Singles was made by
Like a big studio.
And by Cameron Crowe after he'd made Say Anything. I don't remember what studio put it out, but I don't think it's an indie movie.
Okay.
But it has that vibe.
The vibe.
But literally, this was a time when filmmakers like Steven Soderbergh, Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino made their little tiny budget movies, took them to Sundance, and it exploded from there.
Made them dance.
And Clerks was like one of the prototypical Cinderella movies that happened to. But Kevin Smith worked in convenience stores in his early 20s, and he and his friend, who he based Randall Randall, the video store guy, on, had a contest to see who could get the most credit cards, who could get approved for the most credit cards. And Kevin Smith,
What does that mean? Oh, like literally
apply for credit cards.
Oh, okay.
You get the credit card thing in the mail and you're like, yes, I shall apply. And he said he got like 12 credit cards, but his Catholic upbringing meant he would never actually use them. He just had them in a shoebox, but set those aside. Later, he'll need to finance his movie, and they came in handy.
Okay.
He wrote this movie about a character based on him who works in a convenience store, and it's just about clerks who work in their store and have their little problems, and they don't really grow or change and don't really have giant obstacles to overcome. It's just a slice of life. I said he intended to play Dante, but he realized he couldn't do it. So these are all just his friends that he got. Okay. Jason Mewes, who plays Jay, that's
all I wanted to know.
Old friend of his. They filmed this at night in the convenience store where he worked. That's why if you're watching Clerks and you're wondering, why do they keep bringing up that the shutters are closed? Who cares? It's like, and on top of everything else, the shutters won't open. Like,
because it's daytime or nighttime.
They're filming at night and
they don't want you to have a total sense of
it being
it's not Alaska. Okay, but so Randall and Dante are both just friends? They're not actor friends?
They're friends who want to act.
Okay, because I felt they both did. It grows on me.
And both of them have had careers to varying degrees working as actors.
Was there any one actor in Clerks that was like a more established actor? No. Okay, so like the different people who come in as customers, the guy who's trying to get you to not smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, these are all just local people. Yeah, okay. It's not like, this was all, he starts his company, View Askew Productions, puts it all on his credit cards, $27,575 to make the movie. And, I've spent lots of money on artistic follies. The happiness just being, I did it. I did it. Like Dora the Explorer, I did it. And now I'm just going to be happy that I did it and move on with my life. He didn't expect anything would happen, but he was happy that he got to screen it in a theater in New York. And that, figured that'll be that. I'll be working off this credit card debt for the rest of my life.
Do you have to put, do you have to pay to get it into Sundance?
No.
You just have to submit it. It has to be accepted. It has to be
approved.
Yeah.
And I could go into the big process for that.
No, I just wanted to know if some of that money was to get it. It doesn't seem like it should be pay for play. So that makes sense.
Right. He submits it to Sundance. And this is like the apex of the Sundance era where Sundance can launch actual indie film careers. It's kind of like Hollywood is now kind of taking over Sundance. Now Sundance, rather than being this parallel world, is being sort of subsumed into Hollywood.
I don't like that.
Miramax, as the big distributor of indie films, gets bought by Disney. And now it really is like everything is just collapsing in on itself. There is no actual world of independent movies. Now Sundance is Hollywood. But at the very end of this world, Clerks gets submitted to Sundance 1994. And it gets in front of the eyes of the
world's best man,
the most important figure in Kevin Smith's career, Harvey Weinstein. He is encouraged to go see Clerks, and his assistant knows he's not going to like it, but he says, you got to stay until they get to the conversation about the number 37. You got to stay until then. 37 blowjobs. And once he sees that, he's like, I love this movie.
God.
37 blowjobs.
It's like 7 minutes in. He wouldn't have stayed that long.
I guess not. So Miramax buys Clerks for $200,000. And Kevin Smith says he didn't see any of this money until 2001 after it had cleared that. Miramax was notorious for fucking over filmmakers. And
oh my God. Well, how could he even go on to make his next? You're going to tell me, aren't
Yes.
you? Okay. History.
Kevin Smith says he thinks Clerks at this point thinks Miramax bought Clerks because they had just been bought by Disney and they wanted to signal, we're not going Disney, we're not going Mickey Mouse, we'll buy the most vulgar, offensive movie you got. And Kevin Smith had his next script ready, and it was for a movie called Dogma, and he gives it to Harvey Weinstein, and Weinstein's like, I love it, we'll put it out on Good Friday. But Kevin Smith said, I don't feel I'm a good enough director to make that yet. Let's put that aside for now.
Aww.
So here's what happens the
I
next
just
few
played
years.
my sound and it didn't make a sound. Sorry, my soundboard is not working. So there goes that amazing delivery that almost happened.
Okay, do it again.
I don't even remember why I pushed it.
So here's what happens the next few years. He decides it's time to move to a major studio, Universal, for my next movie, Mallrats, which earns him the scorn of the Clerks fans. You sold out, you bastard. But he makes it for a much bigger budget, $6 million, runs into significant studio interference, and then the movie's a financial disappointment.
Is it like a Jingle All the Way situation? Like this movie's expensive because it's in a mall? Where did they spend this money?
I mean, $6 million, which he's like, I can make this movie for $1 million or less. They said, no, we need to make this for like $30 million. And he says, that's insane. I don't know. It's still like a high production values. Like,
Yeah, it looks good.
yeah. And you've got real actors.
There's stunts.
You
People
got,
swinging from cables.
You've got Michael Rooker in there and Stan Lee. I mean, I'm sure you have to
And,
pay these people
Brenda.
something. Mm-hmm. Shannon Doherty. Yeah, you have to
Who
pay.
would have been a big deal at this point too.
Mm-hmm. So it's a financial disappointment, but it does get a cult following on video. But this is the movie where he meets Ben Affleck. And Ben Affleck says to him, Clerks inspired me and my friend Matt Damon to write this movie called Good Will Hunting. You inspired me, Kevin Smith. I love you. And Good Will Hunting, though, was stuck in development at Castle Rock. And
Castle Rock.
Kevin Smith said, well, while you're waiting on that, I've written a movie for you as a leading man. No one's ever put you, Ben Affleck, as a leading man. But I'm making a movie called Chasing Amy, and I want you. And he goes back to Miramax. He makes Chasing Amy. And it made $12 million at the box office off a $250,000 budget. It's the best reviewed movie of Kevin Smith's careers. His career is like skyrocketing. He's got the critical acclaim. He's got his cult following, and his movies are made cheaply and make good money at the box office. And then at the same time, Miramax is going to make Good Will Hunting due to Kevin Smith's connections with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
I guess they found the goodwill they were hunting for.
Hunt over. Here it is. It's Kevin.
Just an hysterical. Here, this is what I wanted. Never mind. Okay. Next time. All right, go on.
Good Will Hunting is like an enormous hit, wins Damon and Affleck Oscars for writing. And I forgot to mention this. I've been using the book Down and Dirty Pictures by Peter Biskin, a book I've mentioned a bunch of times on the show, but that's my source for almost all of this. Great book about this era of both Hollywood and the world of independent film, but specifically about Miramax and Harvey Weinstein. I read it weeks before the Weinstein Me Too stuff came out in 2017. It was very weird timing.
Weird.
And this book...
I just started to like that guy.
No, because the book paints him as a son of a bitch.
Okay.
Just for not sexual predator reasons.
Right.
Even though you read it and you're like, people are hinting at that.
Okay.
But the things they're saying he's a bastard for are financial chicanery and for cutting my movie and for telling me one thing and then doing a different thing.
Boo.
And there's lots of stuff about Miramax's shady accounting. If a movie's a hit, they'll produce accounting that shows actually we're this much in debt because of this movie. So even though you have contractual profit participation points, you're never going to see the money because they mark an expense for another movie as an expense for Good Will Hunting. That's like classic Hollywood stuff that happens, but it was particularly prevalent at Miramax.
Do writers not have agents?
Writers have agents.
And so they can't protect them from, I guess you just take the person that'll have you when you're starting out.
That was the deal. And that was the thing Harvey Weinstein would do is like, you feel like you're personal friends with him and he's going to look out for you and he'll.
No, that's why he would stalk Sundance, because those are the people who don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me give everyone their first start.
And maybe there's a thing in the book about they're wondering whether they should request an audit because you have the right to request an audit, but they're like, okay, but that means he's not going to want to work with us in the future. And also audits take a long time and they're expensive and there's not a guarantee that we're going to, I mean, it's the same thing with lawsuits with him it's why he gets you to sign the NDA.
I was just going to say, he's fucking everybody. He's just only physically having sex with the women.
Right. And knowing like all the onus is going to be on you to prove that I did it. And you really want to go through all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what a great guy.
And there's a story about like after Good Will Hunting is their biggest hit ever. Like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, like they're rising stars, but they still haven't gotten a big payday yet. Mm-hmm. And Weinstein has a meeting with them and he's like, boys, I've got very exciting news. Have you ever seen $1 million? And they're like, holy shit, he's going to give us $1 million. And he gives them each a check for $500,000. And they're like, oh, so it's $1 million total. Okay. It's like, we can't be mad about this.
Right. We still like the money.
But also we feel like you owe us like $10 million each or more. But it's like, what, you're going to be ungrateful?
Right.
So
we're family here.
Yeah. There's just a lot of stuff like that going on. Anyway, they're enormous stars and they're attached to Kevin Smith's next project, Dogma. It's finally time to make Dogma. And while Dogma's a very high profile project being developed, it's got the big stars, it's got Kevin Smith, and he's taking on Christianity. So it gets a lot of controversy.
But is he? I feel like he's just giving a good stroke on the dick.
Well, I noticed all the controversy seems to come from before the movie was released.
Yep.
Because before it was released, the Catholic League called it blasphemous. And then once it comes out, there's articles written where like, I'm a Catholic and I don't think it's blasphemous.
Right. You didn't even get a screener. Calm down, Pope.
Roger Ebert, who's a big Catholic guy, lapsed Catholic guy, gave it 3.5 stars and said like, I think this is just good Catholic fun. Like the stuff me and my school chums would talk about, like, well, what if I cross the international date line and it's still Easter and I eat meat or whatever.
Right.
But all of that controversy is swirling around the movie before it comes out. And Miramax, which again is owned by Disney, is a little squeamish now because the Catholic League is threatening to protest Disney. And Michael Eisner apparently tells Harvey Weinstein, quote, if one person does not go to Disneyland because of this movie, that will be one person too many. I do not want you to release it. End quote. So Miramax sells the movie. They sell it to Lionsgate. No other major studio wanted it. But there's this weird financial thing where it's like Harvey and Bob Weinstein personally bought the rights to the movie and then licensed the distribution. And this is why once the rights lapsed, the movie is now owned personally by the Weinsteins. And that's why it's never been released on Blu-ray.
No one can get
and it's not why it's not streaming, because Harvey Weinstein's in prison right now and no one will make a deal with them. I don't know, but that's why the movie is not available on streaming, and it's not available on Blu-ray. The only way to get it is to order an old DVD,
which we have.
Yeah, we have. And it was a big hit. It was the biggest hit of his career, Kevin Smith's career at that point. It's the highest grossing movie in the View Askew-niverse. And that's Dogma. And now we're going to talk about the movie itself. God bless you.